Hi everyone. This is the BlueTalk event, the second event of the second session of the BlueTalks event. This is an event organized by the researcher and the RDI committee of the CU. I'm gonna show you briefly the agenda of today's meeting. Okay, we are gonna have 4 talks from different researchers from the different institutions related with the CU. And first one is gonna be the Professor Nasos Balfedis from University of Kiel. And he's going to talk us about crosswords, helping scientists to assess the impacts of the sea level rise. Well, Nasos, thanks for coming. I'm going to stop the sharing, and when you're ready, just sharing your presentation and your talk. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Felix. Let me share my screen. I'll try to share my screen. See what happens. So I hope that now you should be able to look.
I can see perfectly. Thank you.
Super. Let me remove this. Right. So yeah, thanks very much for the invitation, and good morning to everyone. I will just give a short talk. It's not, I would even say that it's not too scientific. I would just like to communicate our experience with this project, which was I intend to be a bit of a hobby project, basically, to be honest with you. We called it Coastwords, and the idea is to help scientists to assess the impacts of sea level rise. This work has been undertaken in cooperation with Maureen and Claudia, mostly Maureen, who has basically been running the project most of the time. I will give you some ideas, my ideas about the background and motivation that led us to implementing Coastwords, how we actually implemented the project, what has come out of this, maybe say why it is important or to what extent it is important, also address or describe some of the limitations, and discuss how we plan to take it a bit further if possible and what opportunities exist, and also discuss about difficulties in maintaining such projects. So the project is not, it's only related to blue economy in the widest of senses. It's basically related to coasts and resources, and the background of it was looking at impacts of sea level rise. And the idea behind that is that we have been working with colleagues from different countries in Europe and outside Europe, actually. We've been developing this modeling framework for global scale assessments of sea level rise impacts. And, you know, we've developed a big tool. We've put a lot of data, a lot of effort, algorithms. It's been going on for over 10 years, almost 15, actually. More than 15 years, actually. And what we're trying to look at is the potential impacts of sea level rise, socioeconomic impacts, as well as physical impacts. And in doing that, we also consider that society is not stagnant, so population changes, the economy changes, so the impacts will vary according to that, not only according to physical process. And we also consider that people respond to change. So they respond to rising sea levels. They don't just stay there and get flooded, for example, or they do not let the beaches erode. And the work has been, as I said, going on for many years. It's been published well. It's still ongoing. But one of the main, let's say, surprises when we started with this work was we needed information on coasts. We needed information on what type of coasts we have. And we realized that this was not available. I mean, one would think this cannot be true in the era of satellite imagery and geographic information systems. And, you know, you can look at cars or houses, you can monitor houses, people, even from satellites. And there was no data set on global coastal morphology. So what type of coast do we have? Is it a cliff? Is it a urban coast? Is it a sandy coast? And I put this map there. This is from 1958. This is the first data that went actually into this map. Just a very short story. This map was very difficult to find. Back then, when we started the project, I had to go and to the library where they had, I was working in the UK at that time, where they actually had a copy, which they wouldn't let you take out to digitize. So my employer, my boss basically told me, yeah, put it under your jacket, take it out. We digitize it and we bring it back, which was what we did actually. And that's how we managed to get this data into this model, which has been updated, of course, since then. But this gives you an idea why this has been difficult. Also, what is difficult is that, you know, satellite imagery cannot directly help you classify the coast. So here you have 2 points from the same country, actually, coasts that look very similar. But if you have a bit of better information, you realize that one is a rocky coast, therefore not erodible, in many cases not relevant for tourism activities. And the other one is a sandy beach, which is basically, you know, provides tourist value to the region. So this is where we're coming from. This is what we need. We need it for many purposes. It's not only erosion, coastal erosion, for example, coastline retreat, it's flooding that is important, concentration of people along the coast. And this is a recent project, for example, that has been classifying coasts using satellite imagery. And this work is ongoing in another institution. And, you know, they also crave for data, such as the data included in those 2 pictures I showed before. So, you know, many years ago, before these things were basically published, we thought, yeah, let's try to see if we can implement something like that. We realized that it's very difficult to do so because, at least back then, 5-6 years ago, it was incredibly difficult to find a source of funding or someone who would fund projects like that. There was no provision really for such projects. So we kind of had the opportunity here to host an excellence cluster in Kiel, where there was some money available for smaller projects. And that's how we got the initial funding. And we were able to get people. And I put a point here, a bullet point, people, because this is very important. You don't only need someone to work on the project, but you want someone who really adopts the project or has, you know, some vision of how this should progress and go on. So that's how we established this coastwards idea. We had, you know, the scientists here with the motivation, and we had a graphic designer and also web designer who would actually implement these things. We had many ideas in the beginning about what kind of information we would collect, but as this was kind of a pilot study, we stuck to the basic, which was basically asking people to provide data on the coastal typology, morphology, some very simple categories. The idea is that anyone can go look at a coast, see if it's muddy, sandy, pebbly, or cliff, or ice, or urban, and then click on the category, upload a picture, and supply us with the data. Of course, this is easier said than done, but so it took a bit of work. But we finally managed to put together this website. Later, also, thanks to the initiatives of Maureen, who was the web designer, she developed an app. And we also managed to get it translated in more than, I think it's 10 actually now, in 10 languages. So, you know, it's a global project. We cannot expect everyone to be able to understand everything in English. It was getting data uploaded, images uploaded is can be a bit of a tricky business. So the reason is, you know, we don't know what data people would upload. So I don't know if you can see my mouse, but the idea is that someone has an image to upload. We check if this image is theirs. So usually if there is an EXIF file associated to the data, it means that they have used their camera, or at least, you know, they haven't stolen it from somewhere on the web. We use the Google Vision API for face detection. We don't want people in the photos. We also need to make sure that people are not uploading whatever pictures they have in mind. And we also check annotations for labels. So we want to see if they're actually posting coastal pictures. So water, beach, sand, coasts. And of course, a location. Location is very important. We don't necessarily need an automatic GPS location, although this makes things easier. But in the next step, we check if there is, if we can position the coasts, if the position is correct, And we conduct a set of usually manual checks after that. And this is, one of the bottlenecks, let's say, of the project. Even we check if people have actually classified the coastal material. I will explain in a couple of minutes what this means. And then the image is uploaded. And this is what we get. And, we're happy and kind of proud about this because, as I said, it started a bit like a hobby, and it has developed into a relatively large, comprehensive database on coastal types. So we have here down to that. So this is a clip from a snip from the website, which is www.coastwords.org. We have the following categories. Very basic categories. One of them, our main drivers, is to see if the coast is erodible, if it will change or not, but also what kind of material, in order to see what kind of measures one can take against coastline change. So we have the basic categories: sand, pebble, rock, mud, ice, and urban coasts that are fixed basically. And I think this is easy. This is intuitive. Everyone can classify a coast like that. And I will explain how it's done, but it's been working amazingly well. So, and these are some examples of coasts from all around the world. And we have collected, actually, we're near 11,000 pictures with very, very limited, exposure of the project to the public. Although we have been contacted in several cases, we've had some TV interviews, and some magazines, for example, have presented the project, but this was it. We haven't invested in a campaign, let's say, to acquire data. We have the data now. The data is open access. We have 12. Anyone can download it, and if they cannot find out how, we ask people to send us an email, and we immediately provide the link and the data. We have checked the data. So we do two things. The first thing is, mostly Maureen, but also others, check the coasts to make sure that the location and the description is correct, so that people are not putting rocky cliffs when they are classifying a sand. And this, we haven't found actually any mistakes ever. We also check places that we know or places that we've been to make sure that these are correctly done. Of course, this is a little bit, ad hoc. We've run a few statistical tests, but I will say why they do not work very well. And we've compared the data against, the most detailed coastal classifications that we have. This is some work that was done with in the context of this DIVA model that I'm saying, and we developed a coastal typology for the Mediterranean, where we had very similar classes in 2018, before Coastwords, or when Coastwords was just starting. And we compare those data that are acquired with the photos to existing data sets, coastal classifications, published ideally. And we have found, we've made these comparisons, and we found very high agreement, like more than 85%. And we believe that the errors lie mostly in the digital data set that we have, rather than to the pictures. Manual checks take very much time, unfortunately, but for a global project like that, there are a few ways to do it better. We have some ideas now, but we're not sure exactly how to implement them. And there are some limitations. People post pictures from beaches. This is where people go to have their holidays. It's very easy to upload a sandy beach. It's much more unlikely that people go and upload photos of cliffs or ice. But this is also useful because beaches are, at least for us, because beaches are probably the first places that will be impacted by sea level rise. So, there is kind of a benefit to this. Of course, recently I saw a paper that cliffs also retreat, so the type of cliff is also important. But we do have some data on that. We have the usual gaps that all kind of global science experiences. Let me go a little bit back to the project. You will see, for example, the north of the Mediterranean is completely empty, right? Siberian coast, large parts of Africa are there are no data available. But as I said, this is common, and there are ways to address this. I will talk about in a couple of seconds. Of course, we only have points. this is a bit of an issue, but for example, we would need to know where the beach starts and where the beach ends. But this can be done in other ways, and it would be very difficult to do due to GPS location accuracies. It would be very difficult to do within the context of this project. It's difficult to publish this work. I mean, it's getting a bit easier, but journals were not extremely, they wouldn't see it, at least some years ago, exactly as science. Of course, this has changed now, and we're trying to address this. And what we found is the major limitation is to maintain the project, the sustainability of the project in the long term. As you all know, funding stops at some point. People need to do, find a day job to earn their living. And this is left up to the, good disposition of the people who have been working on it, to their passion in a way. So, Maureen has been very passionate about the project. She has been keeping up. I'm looking at it every time I can. But establishing this long-term perspective is very difficult. You always need additional money to extend the project, which again will not guarantee that you're looking back at what you have been doing. What can we do now? I mean, we have some ideas. We're not quite sure when and how we will implement them, but we want to improve validation by involving users. So, ask users to check other photos of other users for places they know and tick them when they think they're right. We've had a lot of discussions regarding social media campaigns to address data gaps. So, Facebook campaigns, Twitter campaigns to fill in data for specific locations. This seems to work. There are companies that do that. But again, involving companies means there are costs involved. We have many ideas about, what kind of information we can have. Of course, it's good to have this kind of information, but can we extend it? Can we get more? Can we get more relevant information also for other applications? Or can our framework, let's say that we have developed, be implemented in a different context? It might be useful to other people. And we've had recently interest from sponsors to extend the scope of the project or enlarge it or collect more data. So we have, for example, beer companies very interested in funding us to proceed further. And at the moment, we're thinking of how to handle this kind of interest. In general, we don't want the project to die. We have created a unique kind of data set on coastal morphology. We don't have so much data on this, or at least we're not aware. It's available to anyone. We can use it for many applications because beyond impact assessments. For example, we were asked for these points for people who are doing automatic image classifications to use their points to train their artificial intelligence models. There's lots of room for improvements, for extensions, rewriting the code, which we are discussing now how to do. But of course, as I said, the long-term prospect is always kind of a concern, and we don't know when the project will die. It doesn't mean that the data will be lost, but these projects need to be constantly updated, and this is difficult to ensure. I hope I gave you a brief idea of what our experience was, what we've done, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. And thanks very much.
Thank you, Nasos. Thanks for your excellent talk. As I said before, everyone is able to participate. The idea of this session is that everyone that can share your experience in citizen science or related with the project that are just explained. Then I have a question for Nasos. You say that probably it's not related with blue economy, but I a little bit disagree, because probably to know the sea levels is important for more than even tourism. That is important for the economy and also for ecology. Then probably it's good data for.
Absolutely. I mean, there are many issues involved. I'm sorry if I didn't say that clearly. I said it's not directly involved in the sense that we're not assessing a direct resource, for example, but indirectly coastal resources in the wider of senses. And also the scope of the project has been very focused on a specific parameter. So, but absolutely, it can be definitely widely linked to blue economy, blue growth, and of course it can be extended for other applications.
I'm probably looking for sponsors, probably people related with tourism of the areas, the coastal areas probably could be interested in images and stuff too.
I mean, that's how we've been receiving interest. We haven't actively looked for funding, so we're maintaining, this is useful for us and we're trying to maintain it, but taking it to, let's say, the next level would require substantial investments in effort and resources. And yeah, you need the people also. The people who are involved are busy with other things. You know how it goes. It needs a concerted effort, let's say, to take this further.
Other questions for the participant? Catherine, is your hand raised?
Katrin Knickmeyer, I'm one of the plastic pirates joining also this lectures as Tim Kiesling, and I see Marianne and Sinja. We have the citizen science project with pupils, and we thought we are also started with the funding from Future Ocean as seed money. And I think it's very important to join the children, the schools, and maybe then you wouldn't have only pictures from the beaches, but also from the places where the schools are, the cities, at the beaches and so on. This would be maybe a good way to follow the project, and also you can continue it easily if you use the networks of the schools in the countries. But of course, you need the money for the back office. It's always a problem.
Yeah, thanks very much, Catherine. I mean, this is a great idea. Actually, having Zinja around, we have discussed it a couple of times also. Yes, it's the organization, and because it's a global project, it's also sometimes there's the language barrier when contacting schools and stuff. So as you said, you need the back office basically to organize things like that. And unfortunately, our daily realities have not allowed, but it's a very interesting idea, and certainly something we would like to pursue if we manage to get this to the next level.
Catherine, I suggest you to write the data of your project to have all and can see it. I mean, you have a web address or?
You mean in the chat we should write our Plastic Pirates project, or?
Yes, just for all, also for NASOS and for all of us to visit and
yeah. Okay.
Things. Another question, another suggestion. Here, Tim I think is.
Hi, thanks NASOS for your interesting talk. You mentioned you mentioned some concerns regarding the publication of your data, and well, for the plastic pirates we experienced, that is mostly related to the quality of the citizen science data, and I would be interested in hearing your opinion on what your experience is regarding this.
It's absolutely the same. So I mean, we didn't actively submit yet a paper for publication, but the discussions that we've had with journal editors and whatever is that we require a, let's say, systematic assessment of the data quality, which we didn't have until recently. It's also, I mean, this is a bit of a vicious circle, because there is no data really to assess this data set, and therefore, it brings us in a position where we not sure what to do. But now we have done some work based on what we had. There are ways to say how we're doing that systematically and how we can do that more systematically in the future. I think journals have become a little, or from what I see being published, journals are becoming a little bit more open-minded, or a bit more lenient, let's say, towards not having a full data accuracy assessment. So I am becoming a little bit optimistic. So I've started working on a manuscript, and let's see how far this goes. I can keep you updated for sure.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
Another question for everyone. Maybe we have time for more question, NASOS. How about it's very important, the funding. I think for almost most of the projects that we're gonna be seeing today, project is fundamental for to keeping going. I have a question about the differences in the coast, because a beach could have a sandy part, a rocky part, the same beach. How can you deal with this data?
Right. So in an ideal world, we would need, let's say, as I said, in one of the limitations of our data set is that it's only points, right? So we do not have the extent of the beach. This can be done with satellite data, right? So you can identify where the beach starts and where the beach ends, as long as you know that it is a beach. That's the main problem. As I showed in the photos, you cannot tell. So we hope that we can, actually we are trying to combine our data set now with those artificial intelligence algorithms that classify the beach from satellite, automatically classify the beaches from satellite images, and then we're going to have exactly what you want. One thing to mention, we're mainly concerned about, I mean, for our applications, very specific ones, we're mainly concerned about erodibility. So if we have, for example, you go to the Mediterranean, I come from Greece, you have these rocky coasts with pocket beaches. It's not in the context of a global application, when you're not looking at a very specific location, it's good enough to classify this as a rocky coast with pocket beaches and say that, pocket beaches constitute about 10% of the entire coast. And then you know which amount of beach is erodible and you can calculate the impact. So we don't need extreme accuracy. If you go down to national or local scale applications, then you need this additional level of information, which you will need to deal with other ways. But still, this data set is extremely useful. So the people that are doing the global automatic classifications didn't know about the project, and they were so happy when they saw it, because it's exactly the data they need to train their algorithms.
Okay, thank you, Nassos. I think the time is up for this part of the event. Now we're going to pass to the turn to the Professor Alan de Doon from University of Malta, that is going to talk about popularizing science through innovative citizen science, case studies from the island of Malta. Alan, when you're ready, you can connect.
I can share my screen.
Yes.
So just a second.
In the middle, you have a.
Can you see my screen?
Starting. Okay.
Good. So I'll go in presentation mode. Just a second. Just a second, because the panel needs to go down for me to go in presentation mode, because I cannot press on the button. Okay, good. So good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to present our work. Basically, I'm presenting this work on behalf of our research group, Oceanography Marine Research Group, Oceanography Malta Research Group, which is within the University of Malta, within the Faculty of Science. We've been involved, as you will see, in citizen science for the past at least 10 years through a variety of tools, which I will give you an idea today. So basically, not it all started, but we had quite an opportunity to train in citizen science when we hosted the 5th MC conference, which obviously deals with ocean literacy. This was in 2017. We also, in the past, opened as well environmental educational centers. This one, for example, is from Dweira Gozo. This was opened in 2013. And 10 years down the line, it's still open and it still hosts and welcomes many visitors, thousands of visitors each year. It is also on TripAdvisor. We produce constantly a large number of audiovisual tools, from anything from long documentaries to short documentaries, and most recently animations. So small short clips, sort of like cartoons, to explain complex processes, like the life cycle of jellyfish, like invasive alien species, including we did one. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, my point, but I'm pointing at one now. One on the mission Starfish, which is one of the 5 missions of the EU Commission. Since I currently sit on this mission board, and we developed such an animation for the mission board. So these are really how shall I say, effective in explaining complex issues, in a short period of time, and also to generate awareness. So we put all of these on YouTube. We have our dedicated YouTube channel, and this is, I think all our documentaries together have been viewed something like 150,000 times. So extremely popular. Sometimes we organize as well cinema screenings for the public or for school children, so this was our stand at the last European Researchers Night, Science in the City, last September. As you know, on 30th September, this European Researchers Night is organized throughout Europe. This was part of our stand. So we had a microscope connected to a big screen. We had an LED banner. So this is on the left-hand side. Here is an LED banner. We had a stand on microplastics, where we showed people how you can actually identify the polymer in microplastics through near spectrometry. We got a handheld near spectrometer with us, which I will show you very soon. We got underwater cameras, we got replicas of alien species and of jellyfish. So with a lot of brochures and freebies, which we gave to the public. So this was last 30th September, and we participate in this Blue Nights project, through which we can basically, the public can connect to any European Researchers Night from the comfort of their sofa, and they can view any such event throughout Europe. So you can choose Valletta, you could choose Venice, you could choose, any capital city or any other city, and you actually see. So we had to live stream. We live streamed our event. Okay, so the Corallo project, we currently have we are participating, we're actually leading this project. It's an Interreg Italia-Malta project, so it's a relatively small scale project on a European scale. There are 3 Maltese partners and 4 Italian partners. We are the lead partners, and the main objective of the Corallo project is actually to promote ocean literacy and citizen science through innovative tools. Especially the gaming approach, especially robotics, and all the new, tools which are coming on board, which I will give you a sneak view soon. So, for instance, we used our drones to actually film, collect a lot of footage of some of our islets, and use that footage to build 3D models. We printed 3D models, very realistic, of a number of islets around the Maltese islands. These are the smaller, lesser islands. And we even produce these on a micro scale as pen drives, which you give to people, and obviously they are super excited about that, We regularly participate in World Oceans Day, even through photographic competitions with school children. This is at the Malta National Aquarium, and this is our president. So we even hold events under the patronage of our president. VR, we're investing a lot in virtual reality. So we are filming. This was last October. We were filming with that glass dome 360-degree footage, which goes in that VR. So obviously it gives the impression to people using those headsets that they are immersed underwater. And obviously a number of drones for filming, as I said, rugged laptops, high power projectors, and smartphone apps, which would not the usual smartphone apps, the static ones, but actually engaging ones, which would include treasure hunts, Sky Dancer. And this is, in my opinion, something which is very, very promising. We've just bought the holographic fan a couple of days ago, and I hope this plays. So this is in my office a couple of days ago. So there's the holographic fan at the back, and you can project anything basically on that fan from a large database of things, obviously. So any talk you are doing obviously can be bagged by such a display. Okay, so these are becoming mainstream nowadays. So this is one of the simplest models that we bought, one of the cheapest, so, okay. These are other videos from the holographic fan, which obviously I've put here, so obviously these serve their function, which is that of attracting your crowd and to keep them engaged, because obviously if you're speaking about a particular species, it pays to have the species, that same species in 3D just behind you, As well, we're investing in underwater CCTV cameras so that they project, the public can see on big screens what the camera is seeing underwater. Okay, and now coming to citizen science, at the moment we have 3 main campaigns, but we're spreading into the 4th one. And I know that there are people from Plastic Pirates here, and I'm pretty sure that parts of this presentation would be interesting, because recently I delivered a presentation for JPI Oceans, for the management board of JPI Oceans, and we had a very interesting conversation, in fact, online conversation with Plastic Pirates representatives. So we will soon get to those slides, okay? But at the moment we have Spot the Jellyfish, which recently turned 10 years old. So it's, I think, one of the longest running, if not the longest running, jellyfish spotting campaign on a national basis in the entire Mediterranean. Okay, so it was featured in The Guardian. It was also featured on Euronews earlier this year. So this was from February on Euronews Green. Okay, we had the interview with Euronews. So we use a variety of approaches to keep the public hooked to our campaigns. Things like seaside panels and boards, which are on all our beaches, smartphone apps, social media brochures, websites, whatever. So this is the evolution of seaside panels over the years. So the first panel is the panel which there was before we came along with Spot the Jellyfish in 2010. And you can see that the panels successively, progressively became less busy, with less information, more user-friendly, okay? We also produce things like jellyfish sting treatment booklets, okay, like the one on the left, like fact sheets on jellyfish through other projects. And these are all uploaded on our Spot the Jellyfish website. So people can obviously download freely these guides. This is what we hope to produce in future months, is a board game dealing with jellyfish. Okay, so each time you fall on a particular jellyfish, there's a fun fact about the jellyfish. So it has obviously the awareness raising element as well. Okay, then we have the aliens, the Spot the Alien Fish campaign, and the Spot the Alien. So these are the Spot the Alien Fish campaigns, and we also have the Spot the Alien. Okay, we'll do regular talks, obviously, with not just with kids, but even with the public in general. Okay, and we encourage young people to come up with their own artwork, obviously, of jellyfish. So I would say that one of the biggest impacts of this Spot the Jellyfish campaign isn't just the science. Okay, the science is there. We delivered, I would say, a substantial number of new publications on new species, which were recorded to the Spot the Jellyfish campaign. But the thing I'm really proud of is the awareness, and the knowledge, and so people before really knew. Here in Malta weren't that interested in jellyfish, and we just 2 or 3 species were actually known. Nowadays people are much more interested. Okay, and okay, there's still a sort of shy away from jellyfish, but we've introduced this sort of let's coexist attitude and so on. We do regular talks with stakeholders. Here are the divers, even to collect local ecological knowledge. Okay, LEC. This is quite a recent citizen science campaign that we embarked on. It involves these bracelets, which look like watches, but they actually measure temperature all the time. So we give them to snorkelers, to swimmers, to divers, to kayakers when they are out at sea. And we agree a time with them that they return them. So if they spend 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours swimming or out at sea, they are collecting data for us, water temperature data. Then they come back, they tap their phone their watch onto the phone through Bluetooth. There is the transfer of data, and you get a profile, a full profile. So this is very useful for detecting, for example, marine heat waves. Okay, so this is the microplastics work I told you about. It's within the ambit of the Andromeda project, which is a JPI Oceans project. So basically, our idea was to launch this app, okay, smartphone app, which is, as you'll see, is quite an innovative one. So this is obviously an output, an outcome, a consequence of Industry 4 revolution, okay, which tries to combine AI, with traditional data collection. So we've developed an algorithm, which, as you can see on the right-hand side, has been published in a paper in Ocean Coastal Management, which extracts a lot of information from photographs of microplastics, things like color, size, number, surface roughness, and so on. So we thought, why not incorporate this within an app? And that's what we did. We have a video on YouTube, which I hope you can see, whereby telling people how to extract microplastics from the beach to keep it as standard as possible. So you would have a quadrat, a particular depth, so the data being collected from Malta can be compared with data collected from beaches in Germany, for example. So we give these packs to beach supervisors in summer. In each pack, there would be the sieves, there would be the quadrat, there would be the shovel, and this piece of paper. This piece of paper is really important, and we're going to see how this piece of paper actually works. Okay, so you take the photo of your microplastics placed on this paper, and then the app does the rest. Okay, so this video is on YouTube, but it will be also embedded in the app, so that people who haven't watched it on YouTube can see it through their app. We will also have a short video on how to take photos, because photos need to be taken, ideally in a consistent manner, okay, to enable the app. And this would be the output. So your report is actually plotted on a map. Here we see the map of the Maltese Islands, but we can plot it for any map, including that of Europe, and you get information provided by the algorithm within the app. Okay, so this is the sheet of paper I told you about. It has the QR code of our app, non-reflective to minimize glare, white for white balancing, QR code. Even the size of the QR code, it needs to be consistent. So whoever wants to replicate this on their beaches, if they want the data to come in within the Andromeda smartphone app, this piece of paper needs to be standard. Okay, so the data obviously can be used for scientific purposes as well. Okay, so what happens? Okay, this is how the algorithm works. Okay, it extracts this information and then it tries to fit a perfect sphere on the microplastic to calculate the degree of sphericity, okay, of surface roughness. And this is basically an example with different microplastics. You see there's the red, green, and blue channels. And on the right-hand side, you can see the table being populated with the values for each microplastic. Okay, so the size, the diameter of it, and so on, and the colors. So we've tested this. At the moment we're trying to rush the developer, so he gives us the beta version of the app by the end of the year. So we'll aim to actually test it early next year, so that in spring we have an official launch. Okay, and then we have this handheld NIR. I'm almost ready. Okay, handheld NIR. This is a near infrared spectrometer. It's handheld, and basically it's ideal to give you information about the composition of the polymers, of the plastic polymers. Okay, so if it's PET, if it's PFE, ET, and so on and so forth, if it's nylon, whatever. Okay, so this is how it works, this NIR spectrometer. Okay, and we are also using image analysis AI for image detection, for image identification of jellyfish. So again, we developed this algorithm, which was published in Applied Sciences Journal, and we've trained our algorithm to recognize 5 jellyfish species for now. Okay, the most common in Maltese waters, because we had most photos for these 5 species to actually train the algorithm. We got quite interesting results. In future, if we have the funds, we will incorporate this within our Spot the Jellyfish website and apps as well. Okay, so last few slides, what I'm really happy about is that through the Spot the Jellyfish and Spot the Alien Fish campaign, we're also making a regional contribution, not just a national. This is a publication as well where we were involved, whereby the citizen science data collected in Malta, Italy, Spain, part of Spain and Tunisia, went in the central database, which through modeling, to run some modeling, it's trying to obviously understand jellyfish bloom dynamics and to forecast where jellyfish blooms will occur, okay, and happen. We're also helping fellow scientists from North Africa, especially from Libya and from Western Egypt. And these are some of the publications on alien species funded through our citizen science campaigns, which allowed, obviously, scientists from these countries to author publications on the fish or any other alien species they are collecting in their waters. So we are bridging the knowledge gap, because these are regions of the Med from which we don't have a lot of data on aliens, even though aliens are, you know, a frequent occurrence in their waters due to the proximity with the Suez Canal. Okay, so again, these are all publications that were made possible through the Spot the Alien Fish and Spot the Alien campaign, citizen science campaigns. Okay, and one last slide, our campaigns are funded partly by the IOI, the International Ocean Institute, which is headquartered here in Malta, which has a very close relationship with the University of Malta, and which celebrates 50th anniversary this year, and which was instrumental in, for example, having UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, being ratified in 1982. Okay? So I'll stop here, I'll stop sharing, and I'm ready to take your questions. Thank you.
Alan, thank you very much for your excellent talk. Probably we're going to have a lot of questions, because this is a lot of stuff that you are involved in. Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
I have to take call the attention of the use of the metaphoric, the alien for the jellyfish. This is a great idea. I catch the idea. I'm going to, and also the hologram are very catchy for things. Any question? Christian is the hand raised.
Yes, hello, here's Christian Wagner-Ast from Kiel University. So thank you, Alan, for your very interesting talk. So my question is on the Spot the Jellyfish and Spot the Alien Fish campaign. Can you explain a little bit more how you collected the data? Because what you presented in the last 5 minutes was that you produced materials like print materials and putting signs on the beaches where the people can have nice pictures from the jellyfish. But how do you get data out of that?
Very good question. Yes, obviously we have a dedicated website through which is very easy to actually submit reports. In fact, at the moment, just if you hold on just a second, I'm going to copy in the chat the URL. So it's here. Okay, so once you click on that, there is a tab which is Jellyfish Report Form, which is the second one on top, and it takes 30 seconds or 1 minute to actually make a report. By giving your details, whatever details you want to give, it's not mandatory, you know. Then you have the map of the Maltese Islands with each beach having a code, you know, the date, the time, and you click on the jellyfish that you've seen. There's also, obviously, since the list of jellyfish is not exhaustive, we also ask people to click on the question mark if they don't know what the species is, or if the species they've seen is not in that list. And then we, you know, and the ability to, and there's the function also to attach a video or a photo or whatever. Okay, that gets to our database. We go there once every week now because it's low season. In summer, we have to go there once or twice every day because there's a bombardment of reports, obviously, and people would love to get, you know, a response which is quite, you know, not immediate, but at least not after 2 weeks, you know, and we have to validate it. So I have to filter out, you know, reports which, for example, if there's a report with no photo, we use our expert judgment. So, for example, if the person says, I've seen this species and there's no photo, but I know that in that same week, the same species is being was spotted, you know, by other people with photos, then I say, you know, it's feasible. But if somebody tells me I've seen, you know, 500 Portuguese men of war, which are very uncommon in Malta, even though they occur, and there's no photo, I would have to filter that out, you know. So that is the preferred route for reports. Unfortunately, we get a lot of reports through Facebook. I say this because we have to save those and submit the reports ourselves, because the main entry point to the database, to our database, is the website. You know, so the Facebook, people still use a lot Facebook here in Malta, so it's the social which is used the most. Sometimes we get through WhatsApp, sometimes I get through Instagram, but it's mainly Facebook, and it's pretty heavy, because in summer you can get 5 to 10 messages a day, and you have to standardize those reports and to submit those reports yourself on behalf of the person making them, you know. So the smartphone app is not used a lot. Smartphone app is, in my opinion, I don't know what the reason actually is, but people prefer to just go on their social account and send you a message, and they prefer to use the personal account. So they would send the report directly to me rather than the Spot the Jellyfish one. We have a Spot the Jellyfish Facebook account and Spot the Alien, but they prefer to send it directly to you. I've realized that I send the URL only to one person. Sorry about that. So let me send it to everyone on chat. Okay, now everyone should have it, because I send it only to Melita, I think.
Another question, Catherine. I think we have time for more one question.
Yes, thank you for your very interesting lecture, and also the projects Andromeda and other, they are really cool. For the Andromeda, I have a question. What mesh size do you use, and how do you get this very special sieves to your public people? Because in the plastic pirates, we also use the mesh for microplastic, but we use 1000 micrometer as a compromise, because it's not so easy to find the small plastic. What mesh size do you use?
Yes, very good question. Yes, as far as I know, we use two sieves shown in the video. One is the 0.5 millimeter, the other is the 1 millimeter. You know, so we generally go with those. So what we did was we procured a set of packs. So that would have cloth bags. Inside there would be 2 sieves, there would be a quadrat, there would be a shovel, and there would be this piece of paper. We give them to the beach supervisors. So we are empowering the beach supervisors to be our partners, because we cannot be on all the beaches. We would have this big banner of Andromeda, so that before summer we'll do this big PR campaign, and then people, hopefully when they go on the beach, they see the banner and they say, okay, I know about this campaign, I want to participate. They go to the beach supervisor, they get a pack. You know, the supervisor would obviously advise them, listen, it's important you bring the pack bag, because obviously it costs money, you know, so they just borrow it, they do their thing, take the photo, and they don't throw the microplastics back on the beach, obviously. So once they take the photo of the microplastics, next to the beach supervisor, there will be a large glass container, you know, which will be transparent, with an Andromeda logo on, and the microplastics are collected there. So with time, you know, at least we are also collecting microplastics from the beach. So that is the idea. Hopefully it will fall into place next summer, but we're confident that it will work, you know.
Okay, we're having more questions, but we're running out of time. Probably if it's fast, Marjolaine.
Yes, it's pretty quick, and I can write it in the chat. It's actually just a comment. Thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. It's just, I don't know if you've heard of the Jelly Watch program. I think it's someone in Embury. Okay, it's just I'm thinking what you're doing and what they're doing. It'd just be nice to connect and put the data together. Just it's a lot of effort. We should try and work together. So, but if you know about it, it's good. I just wanted to mention that program, because I think your data can really integrate with theirs.
No, good, very relevant. Yes, Jelly Watch, there's actually two campaigns. There's one which is on a big scale, I think Monterey Bay Aquarium, and then there's one for the Mediterranean, which is run by CSM. Obviously, we are ready to give our data as long as there are, you know, the necessary agreements in place and so on. But as we did for Magellarisk, where we partnered up with Italy, Spain, and Tunisia, we are ready to provide our data. You know, we have now a 12-year-long data set, a continuous data set. You know, I think there's close to 5,000 validated reports. So, you know, it's quite a good database. So, you know, I think it will be useful, you know. So that's why, even though we're super busy and sometimes we really are tired and we say, listen, we have to close off some stuff, some chapters. We really don't want to close off for the jellyfish because it would be a pity to have a gap in the, but this depends a lot on voluntary work. So we get seed money each year from IOI to maintain the website, to do the posters, blah, blah, blah. But it's then we have to go and give the talks. You know, we have to answer people on social media. So it involves a lot of work from our end. So if you're not passionate, you have to do this because you're passionate about it, you know. So.
Okay, thank you everyone for the interesting question. We even take the break time for because the discussion was very good. We are going to pass directly to the next talk. The speaker is Professor Remedios Cabrera from University of Cadiz, and he's going to talk us about the Ecofish project. That's related it's related in the collaboration between scientists and fishing industry. Remedios, when you are ready. ¿Tú estás? Okay, we can see it.
Sorry. Thank you for your invitation and for this opportunity. I speak that Ecofish project in the state of conservation and protection of the marine environment, in particular of the Gulf of Cadiz, may consider different objectives to be addressed in the Ecofish projects. How did Ecofish come about? Ecofish is eco-innovative strategies for sustainable in the ZEPA of the Gulf of Cadiz. This project began in 2019 with the collaboration of the Biodiversity Foundation of Minister of Ecological Transition through the PLEAMAR program, co-financed by the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. And in 2020 and 2021, we continue with Ecofish 2 and Ecofish Plus. The project was closed with collaboration between scientists, management agencies, fishermen associations, and artisanal trout fishing. The study area was the Gulf of Cadiz in Andalusia, close to the state of Gibraltar, and includes a special protection area for birds, is this area, in Spanish, CEPA, and in part of the area, fishermen fish for. The fishery sector in Andalusia is very important, that it contributes for more than 380 euros to the community and provide more than 20,821 jobs, direct and indirect employees. The Gulf of Cadiz fishing fleet is composite for trout, 129, minor gears, including long lines, 553, and port seine, 82. In total, 764 fishing boats. Well, the main objective in this project was to involve the fishing sector of the Gulf of Cadiz in the development of innovation measures for an environmental sustainable fishery. The three main lines we worked. The first, evaluate and mitigate bycatch of seabirds and other vertebrates in different fishing years is a problem in different places. Discard of fishing, evaluate and propose management measures for fishing discard in the fisheries in the Gulf of Cadiz. We speak of discards. We are reference for the marine organs that they were returned to the sea, dead or alive. The fisherman is not interested in the for different reasons. Biological, for example, they now have the minimum legal size, or reason economical. This species don't value economically. Then, and the third line, which is not leader marine. They developed a pilot programs for the environmental management of marine leader. In the Ecofish 2 and Ecofish Plus project, with close collaboration with the fisheries sector. We are interested that greater involvement, greater commitment, and greater autonomy increase return to the fishing sector. This is very important because fishermen need feel that they are important and it's their job, is their sea. They want collaborate with that. No? The second point in the Ecofish 2 and Ecofish Plus, where expand the information, get and extend the experience and other ports in the Gulf of Cadiz. Fishing discard in the first Ecofish was at Sanlúcar de Barrameda, and the Ecofish 2 and Plus other ports was Puerto Santa Maria, and the other line was bear fisheries interaction and poor little assessments on board and import. No? On board, fishermen leader and import is the leader that they catch with the year. In the Ecofish 4.0 and 2092, that's finished. The main objective promote integrate waste management discard, recover and management. We have the list of sports equipment of waste management has been drawn in order to analyze deficiencies in waste management and to bring about improve in waste management and clean different points are created. The second line is the valorization of discard and use of discard for food use. We made different sauces and patties. And the third line are promoting the reuse of fisheries wastes in the circular economy. We done different activities with reuse. Workshops to design different products with the discard fishing nets plus material collecting from fishing nets, a lot of imagination in this activity. We can see different products and based in the artisanal things. And that's on the for the some results that different lines, for example, results by interactions by fisheries of 33 shipments with trolling, grid stick, and long line. In more 70 shipments, only 2 bycatch are doing good and common 10, and 0 fatality. This is the different colors indicate different years and different in the area SEPA and near of state of Gibraltar. We identified 35 species of seabird had been identified in the area and interact with the different fishing gear, with the trolling, green stick, long line. And the results that bear discard interaction, we are published recently this paper, correlation between seabirds and fishery varies by species and fine scale pattern. And we we see the main species, the fishing discards, mackerel, horse mackerel, sardine, and different birds. In this map, you can see the hotspot of different species fishes, and in right of picture, you can see different birds and interaction between area of fish and area of birds. Respect of results that leader marine, the methodology followed for collecting and sorting litter in the collaboration with a small scale bottom trawler. First hole, trawlers can catch marine litter when they fishing. The second, the set point is taken, and the leader is separate for each set, and leader is sorted or land, is classification. And these data are digitalization. Then we identify different materials. The main or principal item are plastic, 73%, and metals, textile, glass, ceramic, wood, rubber, but in the top of item are plastic. No? And this is hot point of distribution of the average litter density in the Gulf of Cabo. Red point, more density, and blue point, less density. Then we, in this project, we done different activity with school students and other collected bits clean up and talk different talk about of different problems. Plastic, no, litter, charter interaction for the year, and other activity. Many people have been involved in the Ecofis project over the past 4 years. Fishermen, scientific, civil societies, and other. Thank you very much. Sorry for my bad English.
Thanks, Remy. This is a great example of the blue economy project that is involved in blue economy and also circular economy.
Yes.
Just please close to see the people. Someone need to answer. Okay, great. I have a question. It was difficult to get the collaboration of the fisherman, the fisher. You are mute.
Fishermen is at begin was difficult because they think that the scientific only want information, but we don't feedback. Then think scientists come here and they take information, but before the tag sardine, tag other fish, the government are influence. Then they think that this is for we go to take information. In the EcoFit project, we want that fishermen are other part they collaboration are very important. We want that they feel with other parts in this project, and this is was essential because they have collaborated with us for 4 years, and now in other projects they will go to collaborate now.
Any question? Any question? Okay, how about the food that you are doing with the fishing discards? Do you talk about sausages? No. Sauce? And also pâtés?
Pâtés and sauce. Of pâtés and sauce have for different fishes that the fisherman discard. We had collaborate with the Professor Anna Roldan, that food technology, and they elaborate different salts similar to garum, Roman sauce, and different pate. And the fisherman prove these sauces and this pate, and the civil society too in different meetings.
Okay, and they are good?
Yes, it's very good.
Okay, any other questions from the... Okay, any other questions from the participants? Okay, well, let's pass through the next talk then. Is the Professor Marjolein Matabos from the IFREMER, that is a partner of University of Brest, and is going to talk about the DC Spy, an online citizen. DC Spy, an online citizen application for image annotation. When you're ready, Marjolein.
Yes. Wait a minute. Okay, is that good?
Yes, yes.
All right, so hello everyone. Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present today. So I'm a benthic ecologist and I work at the Deep Sea Lab at IFREMER. And today I'll be presenting the citizen science project I developed years ago and how we evolved in the Institute to involve citizens in the annotation of imagery. So to give a brief context on how we got there, so with the increased impact of anthropogenic activity in the deep ocean, we realized the need for continuous assessment and monitoring of marine ecosystems. So that motivated the last 10 years the development of pluridisciplinary programs and, for instance, the development of deep sea observatories for the monitoring of ecosystem changes. And as part of observatories, we acquire a lot of imagery, and imagery not only provide a wealth of data, but is also a good type of data that society can be sensitive to because it is visual. So imagery is really relevant, both for our studies and the society, but they do generate huge data volume that need to process. Artificial intelligence can help us, but as it's been mentioned earlier, you do need training phase to train those algorithms, and this phase is also really time consuming and still remains a big challenge for the scientific community. So I personally work with at hydrothermal vents, and my main scientific questions is to understand the drivers, environmental drivers of vent species distribution in time and space. And for that, I work with observatories, and I use an ecological observation module that has been deployed on 2 different observatories. One is along the Mid-Atlantic ridge of the Azores. So the ecological module has a camera and lights and is connected to sea nodes. So the Azores observatory is autonomous, and in the Pacific, there is a cabled observatory. So with the autonomous observatory, we acquire 5 minutes of images per day, and this since 2010. And in the Pacific, it's a connected cabled observatory connected to land. So there is no power limitation, and we gather 2 hours of video a day. So we have more than almost 8,000 hours of video sequences for the last 10 years. So you can imagine how we don't have the research power in our lab to annotate all these images, although there is a big wealth of information in them in terms of species response to changes and biology. So we thought, well, how we annotate images is not that complicated. We just annotate each species and look how do species evolve in time with their position in the field of view, and which species are there and how density changes. So we thought with a little bit of training, citizens can actually help us do that. So that's how Deep Sea Spy came to life. So we developed the project five years ago now. So Deep Sea Spy, it's an online annotation tool. You can go, it's deepseaspy.com, pretty easy to find. So the way it was designed, it's built as an application that looks like a game, so to engage people and in helping us. So when you connect, you arrive on an interface where you have to create your account to help us annotate those images. You have linked to the project website. There's also a demo if you don't want to create an account, just try it first. But this is where you connect, and once you connect, you do have, so it works as a game where you have a pseudo, you have your own data, you can see how much images you've annotated, and it works also with levels, so meaning when you annotate a certain number of images, so here the white bar you see is the evolution of the number of images you've annotated in that level, and when you finish a level, you have a quiz where you have to annotate an image. So that's just to make sure that people don't go too far doing like big errors. When you reach a new level, you have actually a new species you can annotate, and it gets harder with time. Some species are harder to see than others. And you also earn a little 3D rewards. Here it's a pycnogonid that you can use as your avatar after. So we really tried to put that as a game so people will get more engaged and treat it that way. So this is the annotation interface. This is an example on how to annotate a buccinid. So here we're in the Pacific Ocean where we follow tube worm assemblages. You have a list of species. So when you see, so you've been to the tutorial, so here you know, okay, that's a buccinid. So I'll just click on the buccinid, and you have this little thumbnail here showing you how to annotate the species. So once you annotate, you do all the image. You have little tools to zoom out, make a grid. And then you can validate your image. And once you validate, the data goes straight to the Ifremer database. So the information we have is the metadata of the image, the date, the location, and the annotation, which species, the values of the point in pixels, and so to get the position in the image. So the way we work is through missions, because we have so many images. We don't want the participants to be desperate, especially it's always the same images. So we work by mission, so they can see progressing from 0 to 100%. So today I'll just give examples on type of results we have and the limitations and how to go further. So the first mission was focused on just 6 months of data to look at the impact of tide on species distribution. The mission went on over 3 years because we wanted to annotate almost 4,000 images. And because we don't know what people are doing, the idea is to have the same image annotated by different people. So each of them had to be annotated 10 times. So we have in total almost 40,000 images annotated, and that provided more than 3,000 annotations of unique animals by 1,100 participants. So this is a crowdsourcing approach, similarly to what the NASA has been developing with Universe. And the results are based on the statistical validation of the data using that participants approach. So first, we had to develop some methods, workflow, to identify unique individuals between different versions of the same image annotated, and define agreement thresholds. When do we decide the animal actually exists? So this is an example of the results still on that species. Buccinum, it's one of the easiest to annotate, actually. So in total, on the 4,000 images, we got more than 140,000 individuals annotated. Of course, there is several times the same one. And so we had to decide on a way to decide on the real number. So that's just an example. You see here the image, and that's the results. Each color is a participant. So you can see some individuals. So those are the real ones we've annotated ourselves. And you can see that the real ones have been seen by several people. And then you have other ones that do not exist in the image. And in the background, we don't really know what it is. Some people annotated. So how do we decide where to put that threshold? So we did several tries. So first, with no threshold, we found a total of 35,000. And you see that when you start putting thresholds, so 50%, that means half of the people who annotated the image found that individual, the numbers go down. And this is the results when we look at varying that threshold. What is interesting is between 25 to 75%, we do lose individuals, but the trend doesn't really change, and we do remain at the same level of densities. So that's pretty interesting. But at 90%, we become really constraining, and I think we do miss a lot of individuals, probably a lot of false negative. So that's where we are. We're working with this data because we have expert data for this one to work on this workflow of validation. But I wanted to talk also about a little bit who are those participants. So that's the participation over 3 years. This graph shows the number of registration per day along time, or per week. It's average per week. And this shows the importance of advertising and communicating around the project to get more participants. So you can see our 2 big communication events were the official release, and we organized a big context during the COVID lockdown where people who annotated the most images, who win a prize. So it was an entrance to aquarium, a T-shirt from Ifremer. We did that once. It worked really well. And all the little pics of registration during the 3 years were linked to mostly media coverage, Science Fest, outreach programs. I worked a lot with schools too, except that one where we had 100 registration in a weekend. We don't know what, probably someone somewhere in the world did some advertisement for us. And but this show how indeed like those big events did suddenly increase the registration rates. We had 2,400 participants registered. Interestingly, half of the people register, but actually do not annotate a single image. They just go there to see and stop. And half of the people who annotated only annotated one image. So as we go up, you see like few people actually annotated more than 100 images, which is what you see here. Is most of the images were annotated by a few number of participants. So this shows really the importance of communication, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Just Deep Sea Spy is not only an annotation tool, we really took advantage of that project to communicate around the deep sea and all the environmental issues around the deep sea and anthropogenic activities to share with the young generation. So there is a project website associated where we explain what our observatory is, what is the deep sea, what is the science we do, what are the species. And I also developed a number of educational resources for kids between 3 and 11 years old for teachers to implement the project in their classes. So we did that with a lot of partners, the National Academy, Educational Academy, associations, the Aquarium Oceanopolis in Brest. So a lot of outreach effort this last 5 years. We have a computer terminal in the aquarium in Oceanopolis. We participated to a large number of general public events, Science Fest, exhibition, and a big implication into schools. Every year we go in several classes, and the teachers with our booklets, the teachers can really bring the project into their class. So from that, some of the results and the application haven't been published yet. It's under preparation, but as Nassos was saying, a lot of this is done as a hobby. I mean, it's hard to defend it in our job. So I spend a lot of my private time, and of course, well, there is life, kids, and so it's hard to publish that work and maintain it over the long term. So what's next? So I was mentioning other projects. This data turns out is really, I think Nassos was mentioning that too, what the computer scientists need to develop algorithms. So that's what we're working towards, is use this annotation to train algorithms. We're still into that validation process on what is the best thresholds to use, and that depends on the type of animals. Ifremer is now also developing. We're making the application available. Well, we're developing other, including other ecosystems in the application, and we try to add new features. So, for example, Deep Sea Spy, because now we have a lot of data. What I would like to do in the evolution of the application is, instead of asking the citizen to annotate the image, because it is hard, is maybe, so this is thumbnails that were extracted from the images from citizens' annotation. So you can see how they were right in some places, but some thumbnails have no books in it. So that might be an easier task for citizens, provide them with those catalogs we've created from citizen data, and they can just like click on the thumbnails that are not correspond to the species. And this way, this will help clean our database to have a better data set to train algorithms. So as I was saying, we're opening the platform to other ecosystems. So there will be now different marine habitats and species, from coastal areas, coral, deep sea corals, tropical fish, and all of that will be all gathered in a single database at Ifremer in a standardized way to work better with computer scientists for artificial intelligence algorithms, and also homogenized our method of data validation. So the future platform is this one. It's called Ocean Spy. Deep Sea Spy will be one application into it. There is Deep Reef Spy coming, and Shore Spy with the images from the coastal area in Brest. So you'll be able to connect and then go from one application to the other. So this is the future Shore Spy. The colleagues here are working at the coastal laboratory. Deep Sea Spy, of course, we will evolve to fit that new interface, and Deep Reef Spy. So hopefully this application will be launched beginning of 2023 and should be available soon. So that's what we're doing. And just to finish, I wanted to show, so what's next implementation of artificial intelligence. It's been mentioned a lot because I do really think it's the future. It's mentioned at the beginning, observatories are increasing observation capacities, like data is just growing exponentially. So we have to go that way. So that's the workflow we've been implementing. We're working on at IFREMER that we hope can be shared with other people working on imagery. So we do have this huge amount of data that can be annotated by scientists or through Ocean Spy and Deep Sea Spy by citizens. So that will help us, that helps us build that database catalog of images that can train machine learning algorithms. Those catalogs, we need to clean them, so we would like to move that way, work with citizens to help us clean these big amounts of catalogs. And machine learning, in turn, will also create, once we run those algorithms, which we started doing with some of the species, you get this list of thumbnails. And again, this can go in the catalog and get corrected. So just create this loop of cleaning of catalogs and data. And all this is happening on our server at IFREMER. That's what I wanted to present today. Thank you for your attention. And this is a work, collaborative work with my colleague Catherine Bormans, who's been doing a lot, and people from the different departments. And yeah, a lot of colleagues at IFREMER. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn, for your amazing talk. It's very interesting, the use of gaming, to get the people into the game, to try to, and the lot of observation that you have, 300 colors and unique animals, is quite a lot. Any question from the participants? Let's see. Are you there?
You feel lonely.
Okay, how about the training? You say something about the participant need to be trained to get more points or more level into the game.
Yes, well, so because there are species you don't know, if you suddenly put the list, we thought that there has to be a minimum of training of the participants to know what the species are and how to annotate them. So when you create the account, you are forced into a tutorial to look into each species. So you have the image, find the books needs, and you have to go through that tutorial before being able to annotate your first image. And that tutorial is available anytime while you annotate the images. But yeah, some species are really hard to see. So even if we try to play on the fact that each image will be annotated several times, you still need to have a minimum of training, because despite that training, you see that some people really pick nogonids and spider crabs, like you get some like totally messed up annotations sometimes. So it is important to give a minimum of training to participants so they don't just annotate randomly.
Okay, Nasos have a question, have a hand raise, please.
Yes, thanks very much, Marilyn, for your nice presentation. It's actually quite soothing to see that people face similar questions and dilemmas in the when developing these projects. One question that came to my mind, and it has been something that we have been actually thinking about as well. Do you know the profile of the people who participate in your project? I mean, we have, for example, from our side, we have specifically thought of not collecting any personal information because, I don't know, that makes it difficult. Probably people would participate less. On the other hand, I was looking, at the agreement between your between the classifications, which is, of course, this is a much more difficult topic. With costs, at least in our case, it was very much easier. And I was thinking, can you somehow put a quality stamp depending on the profile of the participant, or do you have a way of, let's say, rating participants in terms of experience and stuff?
Yeah, we thought about that. So for who are the participants, we do ask personal information, but it's not mandatory if they want to give us. We do ask what their job is and what their range of age is. Some people answered, but I would say like 5% of the people answered, and it turns out it is university students, researchers. So it's actually the people in our field that actually give that information, because I guess they understand why we would need that. But from my experience and talking with people in outreach events, I think clearly active people like us don't have time to do that. They don't. So it is mostly retired people who have like nature and like to be involved in those projects, and a lot of schools, because I've been involved with so many schools in France and classes that the teachers, they have those kids, they do it with them, and some kids bring it home. So I think most of the participants I got was through there, although I didn't put it out, but there are 27 countries. I have people annotating. There's an English version of the game too. We would like to translate in other language, but didn't find time and people to translate yet. So getting back to your point, is like, can we just maybe ignore a participant that is wrong all the time and doesn't annotate well? I did with the first analysis, I did spot 2 or 3 of them who you're just wondering where they're doing it, or they're just trying to ruin the project. So yes, with statistical methods, with some data mining in the database, you can, like, if you realize that if you keep 75% and there is one that is always excluded from those, we can just run the analysis saying just ignore that participants. We work on R, so it's easy to say ignore that line, that column, like, and work with the. But it's something we'd like to do. Then some people even suggested maybe you can ban them from the application. I don't think that's cool. No. It's just, since we can do it afterwards, I mean, there's no point in doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Okay, we have another question from Nicolas.
Hi, so first of all, thank you very much for this interesting presentation. It makes me want to try it out and do some identification as well. So you were saying that quite a lot of verification is needed for the AI, and people are used for that, like citizen scientists. So where do you see it heading once AI is getting like more advanced and you possibly don't need this verification of citizen scientists anymore? Do you think there will be another role for people to participate in projects like yours, or do you think that it's just like a matter of time until like this is phased out?
So regarding my project, Deep Spy, indeed, if at some point we get enough good data that we can go with algorithm, I think it will be the end of the project, maybe because it is not that useful and it is time consuming. We've been talking about it on the long term. I've been alone on that project a lot, and I can't keep going for years. It is too much work, like the outreach part, the analysis part, maintaining the application. It is really takes time in your life. But then now we have this application, because I think, from what I understand, I'm a biologist, but when I work with computer scientist colleagues, it just seems like you need, when you have new type of data, you need like a new training sets. Like the machine learning transfer, like they don't transfer really well from one ecosystem, one species to another, their algorithms. So at the scale of the institute, I can see how like we're gonna have more images coming from other environments, other ecosystems, other projects. So there might be this global application that will still keep going. So that's for the short term. There'll always be need for people to help us annotate and clean those databases. On the long term, I don't know, maybe we won't need citizens into images, well, that way, but I'm sure there will always be some way that we can involve them and how citizens can help us. There's so much work and there's so much that citizens can do. I don't have an idea like that and what it could be in the future with images, but I'm sure there is always ways to involve citizens, which is really important if we want them to feel concerned about what's going on in the environment.
Thank you very much.
We have another question from Katrin.
It's not a question, it's more a comment. Maybe you know the project Plankton ID from Rainer Kiko. He was from Geoma also.
Yeah.
He trained the people to identify the plankton, and we tried to make a application for German funding. And if you want to get paid everything which you need, we were with 600,000 euro for 3 years. If you add KI and everything and experts in KI, then you cannot only have a project for 100,000 euro. That's, I think, is a problem. Everyone wants citizen science, but they don't want to spend money for it. That's really a problem. They think, oh, it's only the scientists, not but the citizens. They are doing all the work, but it's not like this.
No, I agree. Yeah, no, there's such an underestimation of the money, the human resources, the energy that those projects take. Even for scientists, I think working with association and government, like everyone, this is really a multi-team job, and it's huge. Yeah.
So you need a lot of money.
Yeah, and people.
Anyone need money for science. Well, I have any question from anyone? Participation, suggestions? Have you seen any garbage in your videos? Because we're talking about species, animal species, but are there garbage over there?
So no, those videos, no, because this is right now, it might evolve. The images are from deep sea observatories, which are fixed point observation. So it's the same assemblage we're following over time. Like the objective of this observation module is really to understand the evolution of the assemblage in response to environmental change. So we're looking at the same animals. We've been looking at the same meter square for 10 years. So it's really looking at small scale processes. So it's not large scale. But when we start working, because I also work more in the spatial scale using ROV, AUV imagery data, once you start going through like hundreds of meters, yeah, we do find garbage everywhere.
Well, interesting. Well, any participation from the people? Okay. Well, we need to wrap up the event. Well, it was very interesting talks. Thank you very much to the participants and the speakers. We have a few. I can see that we have any common problems about funding, about to get the participation of the people. Sometimes it's hard to get the people involved. But even that, well, the other thing is that the people that work in this kind of project spend a lot of private time to do this, because they have a lot of passion for those projects. That is very, it's very, I think, is common in the most of in the example here. But well, these are only examples from the CU consortia. I mean, there are a lot of citizen science projects that people is working. I invite you all to see the other projects that have the researchers in the consortia to get more involved between each other and to get collaboration between in the consortia. I mean, we can probably get more funding if we get a project in collaboration between France, Spain, Malta, and all the countries that are participating in the CU. Yeah. Then, well, after that was just thank you to everyone for this. I hope that is going to be useful for all of you. The video is going to be, we're recording the session, and then we're going to be, the video is going to be available in a few days. Okay. Well, thank you very much. We are closing the session now. See you in the next BlueTalk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Vale. Que es un aplauso.